Hi, everyone. This is Phil Rubin, founder and CEO of Grace-Based Matters, for the Loyalty Leaders podcast in London at the 2025 Loyalty Summit with my friend Oliver Ross.
Hi, everyone. Oliver Ross. I am Head of Loyalty and CRM at Europe's newest flag carrier, KM Malta Airlines.
And how exciting is that?
I'm loving it. I joined the airline in February. The airline only launched in 2024 at the end of March. The airline has a long history in that it took over from Air Malta. So KM Malta is the new state-owned flag carrier. And we've got 8 planes. They fly pretty much non-stop from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. back to base every night. We serve every major destination or every major city in Europe. And we have a loyalty program, which is where I come in.
Nothing more fun than, you've worked for big carriers like BA and a regional carrier like Flybe, and not to mention some other places like Visa,
and Hilton.
Yeah.
But it's being back in an airline after 5 years is great. I never thought I'd leave the airline industry, but Flybe went bust at the start of COVID. I learned a lot out of the industry, but because I was still in loyalty at Hilton and Visa. But being in an airline, there's nothing quite like it. And being in charge of a loyalty program at a small airline that is very much in the growth phase is just unlike any other role. I'm literally building the strategy alongside doing the implementation and analyzing the results in real time, and then looking at where we need to tweak the program and adapt it, introduce new partnerships, etc. So that there's a lot going on.
And, we actually have that experience in common. Years ago, Midway Airlines. And you're right. Having worked with a major U.S. carrier, after working, not that it wasn't great fun, but there's nothing like the rush you get every day when you're a small team operating an airline of any size, because it's still an airline. And you guys are not a tiny airline. You're covering a good bit of Europe. So
yeah, 1.8 million passengers a year, 8 aircraft. But we've got a very small but very tight-knit commercial team, and we have a management meeting once a week on a Tuesday, and we discuss what's coming up the next week, the next month, the next year, and whatever the burning topics are. Everyone in the room gets a say, whether it's their area or not. We're all one team, and that's just so kind of unheard of, because you're normally so siloed in big organizations. We can't afford to be siloed. And it's great because we end up having debates and discussions about all kinds of different things. And then someone will say something and they'll ask for ideas, and the next day we'll do something. And that very thing happened last month. We were looking at sort of our forecasts, and we were thinking, okay, well, we want to drive a little bit of extra demand, stimulate a little bit of demand towards the end of May. So I said, okay, well, let's do a flash sale. Okay, we'll do a flash sale. We've got 2 databases. We've got the loyalty database and a newsletter database. And so I suggested, well, rather than just doing a flash sale and market it to everyone, why don't we use it as an opportunity to offer an exclusive discount and early access to our loyalty members? And lo and behold, a day later, that's exactly what we did. We configured it in Salesforce. We pushed it out. We built the promo codes. And we gave our loyalty members 50% off the base fare on all remaining seats in May. And we gave 24 hours later access to anyone that hit our website, our newsletter subscribers, and those that follow our social media, 40% off. So it not only reinforced that loyalty pays, and we were giving back to our loyal members, but it also encouraged those that are not loyal members to join the loyalty program in future to benefit from exclusive offers. And the proof is in the pudding. The performance of the loyalty discount outperformed that of the newsletter discount. And the the initiative itself was a success.
It's so exceptional to be able to, number one, literally and everybody talks about figuratively, how do I get a seat at the quote unquote seat at the table? You literally have a seat at the table every week for those planning decisions, and the speed of execution. It just accelerates what you learn about how you can be more nimble, manage the business, recognizing there's some big competitors out there. Obviously not, the flag carrier, but you think about having maybe not as much resources, but the leverage you get with time and I think it says something about you and also the rest of the team that you guys are willing to take chances.
No, I mean we've got a great CCO. I mean, he'd be annoyed that I've even mentioned his name. He doesn't love the limelight, but he is a fantastic leader, and he really empowers his team because he trusts us, and we have to give him a reason to trust us, of course. But we are given that latitude to make decisions, to take risks, ultimately to drive revenue. I think the experience is unique for us, but we do compete with all the major airlines that fly to and from Malta. We also compete with low-cost carriers. Having said that, we have a better frequency and schedule than British Airways and EasyJet on the London-Malta route. We're up to 4 times daily from London, once daily out of Gatwick, up to 3 times daily out of Heathrow. The UK and London is a very important market for us. We're also a very unique airline in that we have a real mixture of inbound traffic, obviously being a tourist destination, as well as outbound traffic from Malta, from Maltese citizens and those that live there, both in terms of business and leisure. And the Malta itself is it's an amazing country, not only for tourism purposes, but also for growing a business. There are a number of incentives, and a number of industries have really grown in Malta. So gaming, for instance, is one of those industries. Aviation is another. There's a number of MROs open in Malta. So there is natural business there. And the challenge that I've got is I have a loyalty program that has to cater to visitors, locals, tourists outbound from Malta, tourists inbound, business travelers in both directions, and they all have very different wants and needs, and we're designing a program that caters to everyone.
So, which is another benefit of having your job in a and a seat at the table as a small team, and also it is also you own CRM.
Yes. I was sort of lucky enough with this role, not just to take on loyalty, but also CRM. And it built on my experience at Flybe. Because when I was at Flybe, I joined as head of loyalty. I quickly ended up taking on customer data strategy, where we were looking at connecting all the multiple data sources, giving sort of customer 360. We introduced a new pre-flight or post-flight survey to be able to better track NPS with Medallia. And that whole experience has definitely set me up to be able to do what I do now at KMMA. We use Salesforce as our CRM engine, but behind the scenes, we have a very sophisticated EDP. Must admit, I'm not entirely sure what EDP stands for, but sort of Enterprise Data Platform. That's the one.
Yes.
We can do so much with it. We're obviously still in our infancy. The platform's built. We're now extracting the right data and figuring out how we best get it into Salesforce to utilize it for the call center, to utilize it for us in loyalty, the sales team, etc. But the kind of things we can do with that data in terms of customer value, lifetime value metrics, personalized marketing. We're doing some more personalized marketing with our pre-flight emails, or pre-flight email targeting based on what customers have actually bought, which is a project we're working on at the moment. So all in the name of improving the customer experience, but also to improve the commercials of the airline.
Which is exactly what every person at this loyalty summit wants to be able to do, right? We talk about these things about loyalty is not just for marketing. It's an enterprise business strategy done properly. It's a tool to solve problems for the business and the customers simultaneously, and ultimately all the partners as well. We talked about the fact, we talked a little bit about leadership and courage. Have you done things yet that you thought would work that didn't work? Or is that there to be done?
We've got a number of things pending, which we've sort of...
Not suggesting they're not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you're not trying things that don't work, you're not trying enough things.
I mean, I wasn't
for
sure.
Some people.
I wasn't sure whether promo codes exclusively with a discount for loyalty members would work, but we tested it and it did work. Now we've done other things. When I got there, the program had an added complexity that was unnecessary, in my opinion. Membership years were unique based on the date of joining. So within 2 months of me joining, we streamlined those so that everyone's membership year ends at the end of March. So March 31st, which aligns with our financial year, which also helps for budgeting, planning purposes. But it also makes it far easier for us to be able to communicate with customers, because we can say that, you've got 3 months left for the remainder of the membership year. You're currently at this status. If you want to reach this status, you need this many more status points to get there. And then in the future, if we introduce a status booster, then that's a way of monetizing that and encouraging more travel, etc. So that there's things that we've tweaked. I was nervous about that, I must admit, purely because we couldn't have a solution that was fair to everyone, because some people were maybe going to reach the next level of the program sort of 2 days after we changed, and some were going to be 10 months later. So we came up with a strategy where we invested proactively, and we said to those that were predicted to reach the next tier within 3 months of that cutover date of April 1st this year, we would upgrade them proactively.
It's a great idea.
That meant there were no complaints.
Yeah.
There were a couple of edge cases, and we looked at those where it merited. But then in addition, because some of our members ended up with either a shorter or a longer window versus where they were expecting, we gave everyone from April 1st 25% of the status points required to get to the next tier. So they've started the year higher than they would have done, but it also compensates the fact that some people might have been 6 months in and they were on the climb, and they were therefore going to lose out if it reset to zero.
And that's not a new problem to solve necessarily, meaning not for the airline, and because that's the sort of the common structure, but it happens all the time. This is why there are things like accelerated elite qualification promos and that sort of thing. But it's not always done well, and it's also not always fair, and it's not always easy to understand. So March 31st, it's a quarter. People can get that 20. So the 25% bonus for the quarter gives them a fair head start to requalify.
Yeah, I mean that was a monumental effort on behalf of not only sort of my team, the marketing team, the tech team, our loyalty provider East2, but everyone agreed it made sense, and not to mention the call center team, because they needed to be briefed. But I took the time to brief them in person about all the changes that were coming, made sure that they had an FAQ document so that then they could answer any questions. And we had no complaints about the change. And I was bracing myself. I really thought we would get complaints, but it went to show that we did it right. And we took the time, rather than just making the decision to change it, we thought, okay, what are the potential pitfalls of doing this from a customer perspective? And we found a customer-friendly way of delivering it, whilst in a way that didn't really cost us very much.
Yeah.
And it, if anything, meant that we got more loyalty from our members.
Absolutely. And that's never a bad thing. There's sort of two dimensions that are advantageous when you're a smaller carrier competing against bigger carriers. One we already talked about, that's the ability to move quickly, because speed is a huge advantage. And we know, especially when you're talking about competing with other flag carriers and just very large airlines, nobody moves that fast, right? Not to mention they're not risk takers at this point because there's reached such levels of maturity. But I'm curious because I mean, my Midway Airlines experience is very, very similar. Do you view your size as an advantage too? Meaning there are things that you can do as a smaller carrier and a smaller program that take advantage of opportunities that maybe some of the bigger carriers would pass over or wouldn't prioritize because it doesn't scale for them, but it works perfect. You know, it fits with KM Malta.
Yeah, I think size can be an advantage, it can be a disadvantage. I think from a loyalty perspective, with a loyalty program in its infancy, if we mess up, we don't upset quite so many people, and we can be proactive with how we then address it.
Yes. That's the glass half empty way to look at it. That's the glass half
empty. The positive, though, I think we can move quicker. We, for instance, Air Malta, with their loyalty program, which closed when the airline shut down, they never had online redemption. They had a standard redemption model. You had to call the call center. There was all those challenges with availability, revenue management, wanting to release seats, not release seats, etc. We don't have any of that. We have, at the moment, we have the ability to redeem up to 50% of the base fare. But from next month, you will be able to redeem up to 100% of the base fare online, not only for the fare and the flights, but also be able to pay for any ancillary that is sold by KM Malta, that is a KM Malta product, on our website.
It's fantastic.
So I think that kind of thing, that will be the first in Europe to do that with ancillaries. And then later this year, we're launching a couple of things that are pretty innovative in the space. So one we've already announced, which is the introduction of a marketplace in Malta that will allow our members to earn and burn with vendors throughout the islands of the Maltese islands. And that will be a game changer in that whether it's a visitor that earned Skybucks on their flight over, they will then be able to redeem them in a coffee shop or for a tourist experience or in a bar or in a supermarket. For locals, it's great because they'll be able to go to a furniture shop or they'll be able to sort of redeem them potentially for rideshare. Still working through the details, but we're working with East2 to create that. They have some pretty impressive technology that will power it. The other thing that I think is quite unique that I'm really excited about is we will probably be the only airline in Europe that has got a revenue-based program for accrual that actually calculates prior to buying your ticket how many miles you will actually earn. And not just for you as the long-term member, but also for any members in your party that are traveling with you that you've entered their membership number. And you will see that not only for the fare and the fare product you purchase, Fare Family, but also for any ancillaries you buy.
So you've got a full read up front, and they know exactly the value of what they're accruing.
Yeah. All about transparency. And the beauty of the program also is that even if you redeem 100%, you still earn. So members never go back to zero.
And that, I think we've seen lots of changes. I mean, not just in airlines, but certainly across the travel spectrum, but also other categories. And I think people are going to, you probably hear it and feel it, but the trust that goes with that transparency and doing things like handling the year alignment the way you guys did rises above sort of the average MO out there, which is a great advantage as a smaller carrier too.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're pretty clear with our values, and we're an airline that connects Europe with the Maltese Islands and connects the Maltese Islands with Europe. And we are the flag carrier where we focus on sort of the premium leisure market and the business market. And so we owe that to our customers and our members to have a transparent loyalty program where possible. I think all of our innovation will carry on with that theme, but we're also looking to plug gaps. So, for instance, we're looking at partnerships that don't necessarily fit into the marketplace, that are kind of basic table stakes of a loyalty program in the travel sector. We're lucky, though, because we don't have that kind of legacy history. We can pick and choose. We can work with the right partners, and we can build a value proposition that really resonates with our members and what we're trying to achieve.
And reflects the brand that you guys are trying to build, and that
exactly
connection with everybody. And it's a connection as a flag carrier, and also I think the character of Malta as both OND sort of builds that broader brand too, of Malta itself.
I mean, and that's what the airline and as an extension, the loyalty program is ultimately all about. We obviously are a business in our own right, but we need to stimulate demand to Malta. We need to promote Malta, and we absolutely do that. And our onboard product itself, our business class product, maybe I'm biased, but I would argue is the best intra-Europe business class product. All of our ingredients in our business class meals are sourced and inspired by sort of Maltese cuisine. We serve Maltese wine on board, and we really try and reflect the culture of Malta throughout our experience, the warmth of our cabin crew, etc. We have uniforms that were designed by a Maltese designer. So there's a lot of Maltese culture that is embedded throughout the airline.
And
as
authentic.
It should be. And authentic, genuinely authentic, which I think is what makes it extra special.
It's outstanding. What are the things? So it sounds like sort of the broader strategy is fill the gaps, innovate on top at the same time. That's got to be both a lot of fun and forward-looking. What are you most excited about?
So we have now doubled the membership base since I joined in February, which I'm pretty proud of. But we don't want to stop there. We need to keep growing the program, because the more members that we have, the more customer data that we have, the more we can do with that customer data. And importantly, the more partnerships that we can attract, because we have such a large customer database there, and members of the program. I also want to look at our elite benefits and see where we can enhance them, because our elite members travel really regularly with us, and whether they're premium leisure or business or a mixture of both, there are things we can do with our benefits to reflect their needs and wants, even more so than we do today. So I'm excited about the opportunities there, and also for the marketplace to launch and be successful.
There's some good discussion. And by the way, congratulations on doubling in. So we're recording this at the very beginning of June, right? Today's what, June 5th?
Yeah.
And you started in February, so people can do the math and see how quickly you doubled the program size. The other thing, and this is a theme that we had a lot of discussion about so far, we're kind of midway-ish or a little past the halfway point of Loyalty Summit, is the role of elite benefits and the experiential side of the value proposition, and how important that is to get beyond just the pure transactional piece.
Yeah, we see status as being vital to the success of the program. You will see some announcements soon, hopefully, in that space. And status is such a useful tool, not only to engage members, but also to onboard and activate them in the first place, if done right, status matching, status boosting, etc. So I think there's opportunities in that space for sure. And I mean, it's very flattering that you said do the maths. I couldn't have done that myself. I have a fantastic team, and we're all very complementary because we all have different specialisms, and together we've been able to make tweaks to the program. We've broken everything down to try and simplify it, make the call to action to join the program more transparent, improve the join journey, and sort of promote the program in different ways. So it really was a team effort, but it's something I'm particularly proud of for sure.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic because you have to. What the word I would add to that, clearly you guys know how to get stuff done. Like the level of productivity in that period of time.
Yeah,
for an airline,
we roll our
pretty
sleeves
remarkable.
Up. No, we're very motivated by getting stuff done, and we have to be because we are scrappy, scrappy in a professional way, but we have to be able to compete, and we have targets to hit, we have products to launch, and that requires all of us to work together. And of course, we have disagreements here and there, but that's a healthy debate. But by and large, we pull together, and we are successful, and we are making waves, and it's great to be a part of that. Obviously, I've had a great career so far at a number of big corporates, and I've always been able to make a difference in some way, shape, or form. But being in charge of a loyalty program and having that seat at the table, I mean, it's kind of everyone's dream. So I'm getting to do it now, when most people get to do it at the end of their career in a larger airline. So who knows what the future has in store? But I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing now, and it's great to be able to contribute to the success of KM Malta Airlines.
It's I think it's the funnest thing you can get to do in loyalty.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
All right. Any parting words of inspiration other than everybody should come and visit Malta?
Yeah, definitely come visit Malta. Try out KM Malta Airlines, especially our business class product. I think for me, the journey that we're on is pretty unique, but it's about having that team and making sure that you're succinct with your partners. So whether it's our web partner, BranchSpace, whether it's our loyalty partner, East2, whether it's our internal partners in all of the different departments, everyone needs to be on the same page, and everyone needs to understand why loyalty is important. And if they do, then it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and the whole team.
Thanks, Phil.
It's great to hear.
Appreciate it, and great joining you.
Sounds ridiculously fun.
No, it's great, and I mean, I've enjoyed what I've done in the past, and shout out to Luigi if you're watching. Your mentorship at Visa was very much appreciated. I got to do so much at Visa with lots of different brands, which was very, very cool. Obviously, my time at Hilton before that, being behind the first travel hotel debit card in a co-brand in the market. So I've always been able to do things, but being able to do things at the pace and the scale that I'm doing at KM, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good. Congratulations. That's why we call it the Loyalty Leaders Podcast, everybody. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we look forward to chatting again. Thanks, Oliver.
Thanks, Phil.